Uh, Welcome to the Wolfpacker Wrestling Podcast. Today we're joined with Brian Reinhardt, who covered wrestling for the NC State Sports Information Department for 10 years. And special guest today, two-time ACC champion, Jakob Camacho, who's sitting out this year with an injury. And I think it was 2020, Jakob shocked everybody by destroying Jack Mueller, who was a national runner-up the year before and was named the ACC's most valuable wrestler for the tournament. So glad to have you on, Jakob. And Brian, you're going to find out a little bit more what's going on with Jakob.
Yeah, absolutely. And Camacho, it's a little bit different. Normally this time of year, we're talking to you, you're getting ready for ACCs, you're getting ready for NCAAs, but unfortunately you had to miss this season. I don't think a lot of fans know exactly what went down last summer. Could you share a little bit about just kind of how you got injured and what the process has been like for you?
Yeah, for sure. First off, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to kind of share my thoughts and insights on everything that we're going to talk about. But yeah, last summer after NCAAs, I kind of regrouped and just went on the freestyle tour of competing. I went to the U.S. Open. After that, I went to the World Team Trials. And then after that, I qualified for Final X to try to get a spot on the national team for Team USA. In between the World Team Trials and Final X, I kind of tweaked my knee at the tournament, the World Team Trials. And my knee was kind of bugging me. But nothing that, every athlete knows the feeling of a knee bugging them. So it kind of wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary or anything like that. And then when I got back from Final X, just training in the summer, pretty much right when the freshmen got in, my knee buckled, and that was kind of the first big sign that something was wrong. I still at that point wasn't anything crazy. I walked out of practice, just a little stiff. About a couple hours later, I was kind of freaking out. I called Kevin Jack. I called a couple guys and called our trainer. I was like, hey, something's not right. Lo and behold, I had torn my ACL. So pretty much went from tearing it 1 week to almost 6 days later going under and getting the surgery. So that was a pretty big culture shock. And I mean, we kind of were hoping I'd be back, but I kind of knew that it was a stretch. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really long road to recovery, but I've kind of embraced this new kind of role that I have on the team, which is probably one of the harder things I've had to do, which is step back as an athlete. And now it's not about me. It's about the team and what can I do to help the guys on the team? Can I be there for them mentally? Can I be a good practice partner for them when I was able to return to the mat? So yeah, it was a different role, but I kind of the only way out is through. So you got to throw yourself into that new role and kind of be that guy that the young guys can lean on, can look up to, and guys that are making their debut, starting at a different weight class, like Jarrett, try to be there for him as much as possible. Yeah,
I was going to say, you probably could have tried to rush back, but I mean, realistically, it probably would not have been until January anyway. So you would have missed a lot of the season. When the realization came that you had to sit out this year, was that a little bit hard for you?
Yeah, it was a very strange, kind of series of events, because I was told that at 6 months that we would kind of take all my strength measures, we would do my jumping test, my stability, my functional patterns testing, and I passed all those with flying colors. There was no hesitations. I had been wrestling for about a month and I was feeling great. So I kind of started getting my weight back in check and doing all the right things necessary to put myself in a position to come back. And then I met with the doctor, and he pretty much told me, we're not going to release you till 8 months. 8 months was the UNC match. And I was like, well, it's kind of we're cutting too close now. And then I talked with the head of sports med at NC State, and we had a great talk. And he pretty much told me that professional athletes don't come back, no matter how good they are, until 9 months, 10 months. And even then, the longer the better for those guys. So I kind of took that to heart and was like, well, I want to compete for the next eight years. So I kind of had to look a little bit down the road and kind of take my pride out. wanting to come back this season and kind of really just say, okay, well, the smartest decision is let's get the knee strong. Let's heal up. Let's get my mind in a spot where I'm itching to come back. And that's what we did. It was weird because I was getting my weight down and kind of got told a few times, yes, a couple times no. And I was like, I don't really know what's going on. And then we kind of figured that it's best to medical. And then I talked to Coach Pat and then Coach Adam, and we really kind of just smoothed things over. We're like, let's gear up. We got 2 more cracks at this. Let's do them right.
You joked 8 more years. The ACC thinks you've already been here for 8 years, but
I know.
what's the plan moving forward for your career here at NC State, wrestling for the Wolfpack, not the RTC yet?
Yeah, so I have 2 years of eligibility for NC State University. Definitely going to take those. Want to bring back a team trophy and a national title, individually and team-wise. I want to really instill this culture that we have to the young guys coming in. Now that I'm kind of on the older side of things, and looking forward down the road. I mean, I want to compete in. I want to make a run at world teams and Olympic teams, and I want to wrestle for. I want to stay here in Raleigh, ideally. So kind of not looking too far down the road, but as far as my career, I want to finish out my career at NC State, and then I want to start looking to the next level and join the ranks of Gwiz. Nick Wisdowski, and bring home some world medals and try to make an Olympic team. I mean, that's the pinnacle of wrestling. And I think through my recovery and having to take a look at everything from kind of a third perspective and the bird's eye view, I realized this is what I want to do. This is my gift. This is my way to connect to younger kids and kind of inspire them. And this is just something I love to do. And I'm going to ride till the wheels fall off.
So I saw some news break that you're going to be in the U.S. Open in Las Vegas coming up. So I assume that you're back in the room now. How has training been? How's the knee going? Any reservations about just getting back out there and going, full speed?
No hesitations at all. I am going to compete in the U.S. Open at the end of April, and I'm really itching. I mean, I'm sure when I get out there, it'll be business as usual. Nerves will be there, butterflies, but that's all good for me. So it means I'm normal. As far as training, I mean, I was back building my foundation wrestling wise probably around 5 months. A little over 5 months was where I got back in the room, started focusing on literally the basics. It was like I was learning to wrestle again. But like everybody was telling me, you're not going to forget how to wrestle. You're not going to forget, your instincts are going to be there. And 5 months off might not be the worst thing for me. So I actually was fully rested mentally and physically. And when I got back to kind of a high pace, high drill, I found that through all the rehab and all the strength stuff I've been doing and the very, very finer details, I became a better athlete. I became more aware of my body. I became more aware of angles in wrestling. I became a student of the sport, and I was able to detach. And when I wrestle now, it's like I'm able to put myself in a chess match where I'm seeing 2-3 moves down the road, as opposed to just kind of flying by the seam of my pants and really just kind of feeling things out. Now it's a chess match. It's having a lot of fun, and I've got no hesitations. And I truly believe I'm way better than I ever have been because of this.
I can only imagine that notebook is even more filled now because you really wrote a lot of notes.
Yeah, I've been through a couple.
Yeah,
I met with Adam every week, and we watched film every single week. We broke down the most minute freestyle, the most minute folk style. We picked at my wrestling, what I do well, what I don't do well. I became a student. It was kind of like I was a freshman in high school again, falling in love with the sport and couldn't do it. But my brain was the only thing that worked at the time. And I strengthened that muscle as much as I could. And that's probably what has gotten me to the next level is my brain now.
Now, I was just checking real quick. This move should be advantageous for you. And I don't know how many guys are coming back, but on Flow Wrestling, 9 of the top 10 125-pounders in the country are seniors, including Spencer Lee, who'll be a 4-timer. So you'll come in, all those guys will be gone, which should help.
Yeah, no,
your
it's
advantage.
definitely it's good timing. I mean, even just getting to the NCAA tournament, you gotta put together a tournament of your life. No matter who's out there, everybody brings their A game. Nobody's gonna lay down for you. Nobody's gonna roll over for you. I mean, part of me really wanted to wrestle this year because it was so stacked. I mean, I felt how good I was. I felt how good my timing was. How much stronger I've gotten in the past 6 months, and I knew that a healthy me could give a lot of those guys a run for their money. And I still want to wrestle guys like Spencer Lee. I mean, that's what I live for. I live for that challenge. I want somebody to kind of bring me to the edge and see what I'm made of. But I'm not worried about that because everybody's improving. Everybody's got something to prove, and there's always something. There's always somebody, and that's kind of what keeps me trying to stay ahead and kind of try to outwork everybody as much as I can. And I've learned different ways to outwork people without having to kind of put your body through the ringer.
I think turning towards your teammates a little bit now.
Yeah.
Very exciting weekend. The ACC Championships this Sunday, Reynolds Coliseum. NC State's won 4 in a row. You've been here for 4 years. Every year you've been here, you guys have raised that team trophy. What kind of pride is it for the Wolfpack to win the ACC title like they have been?
Oh, it's awesome. It's one of the best feelings to go out there. Last dual meet of the year, you put it on the line with your teammates, and as a team, bring back a team trophy, whether it's a co-team trophy or a team trophy. That's always sweet. But then going into the ACC tournament postseason, I mean, that's what everybody lives for. That's what everybody wrestles for. And almost at this point, it's kind of just become an expectation. You go out there, and the expectation is to go out there and to be you, to be that wrestler from NC State. Winning the ACCs is awesome, but that's just a byproduct of the groundwork that we've laid. I mean, from the laps on the track in early September to the long live goes in October to sacrificing a Thanksgiving break. I mean, these guys that were starting, they didn't go home for Thanksgiving. They stayed back and they trained, and it's not an easy thing to do by any means. Most of the teams in the country are going home. They're seeing their family. They're enjoying good food. These guys were training that Thanksgiving day. These guys were waking up, going to practice at 11 a.m. that next day. I mean, it's the winning the ACCs. It's such a good feeling. Not necessarily because it's a win, but because it's proof to our culture. It's proof to what we do in the front end. All the training we've done from the moment the season ends all the way to that next ACC tournament. I mean, it's really, at this point, the expectation is just to go out there and represent NC State to the best of your abilities. And if you do that, good things will happen.
So this year, very tight race. NC State, Virginia Tech at the top of the conference. You can't forget about Pitt, 4 number 1 seeds.
Mm-hmm.
UNC has a couple really ranked guys. Duke has a number 1. UVA is always strong. So it's going to be a great tournament. What has the mood been in like for practice this week with the NC State team?
Guys are itching. They are itching to go out there and to compete. And everywhere from 25 all the way up to heavyweight, at least in my eyes, everybody looks like they just want it to be here already. They're focused, they're lasered in, and they're just excited to go out there and compete. I mean, the coaching staff has done a great job as always with getting these guys ready to go. And I'm excited. I mean, NC State, Virginia Tech, the rivalry, it never ends. So it's really fun going out there for the AC tournament because it's like this one's for all the marbles. Everybody forgets what you did yesterday. Nobody cares what you're gonna do tomorrow. It's all about what you do today. And when Sunday comes, it's gonna be the only thing that matters is that day. And it's gonna be very fun to watch. I mean, I think that the way we've been training, the way that the guys have been in the room, everywhere, everything from their moods to the way they've been training to managing their weight. I mean, all the boxes are checked. Now it's just time for them to show up and throw a singlet on.
This might be a hard question for you because you really haven't been in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like a guy like Trent's a good example. He's not really wrestling for that NCAA bid, but some of these other weight classes, these guys need to perform well at this tournament. Does that factor into a wrestler's mind, do you think, at all? Or is this more about the ACC than it is about the NCAA right now?
I think it definitely does factor in. I mean, I think that for anybody, I mean, there's always a little bit of every you're always going to add a little bit of pressure to yourself. I mean, especially with that bid on the line. You know it's there. You know you want it, and I think at the end of the day, it's really just managing your focus. I mean, are you focusing on the intrinsic the extrinsic things, or are you focusing on what you can control? I think guys that are fighting for that allocation, I mean, all they got to do is just show up and wrestle. You show up and you wrestle hard for 7 minutes, good things happen. I kind of like the quote of that I read one time. It was like, sometimes competing is like the art of forgetting. You got to be able to forget about the allocations, forget about the outcome, forget about the fans, and just focus in on the task at hand. So I think that does play a little bit of a factor. But if anything, for our guys, it's just added motivation. It's added motivation to get that bonus point. It's added motivation for a big mat return. It's just a little bit of a chip on the shoulder to go out there and compete.
When your matches against Pitt and Virginia Tech, 8 matches went overtime, and NC State won 7 of those. Is that something from your culture or something you practice?
Yeah, that's strictly our culture. That's a never say die attitude. That's I'm going to wrestle to the final whistle. It could be 3 periods. It could be overtime. It could be a 20-minute go in the room. Guys aren't going to stop wrestling until they get that last takedown. I mean, there have been countless times when somebody gets a takedown and it's the quote unquote last go, but they might not have it and say, no, we're going again. Like, I want another one. So that's just the culture that we've developed at NC State. I mean, it's you live for those matches. You want those hard matches. And when push comes to shove, let's see what we're made of. Personally, I think that's a great statistic. I mean, I love that 7 out of the 8 matches gone overtime, we win. That just kind of shows you that we're not rolling over. I mean, it doesn't matter how tired we are. Doesn't matter how bad we're hurting. We're coming. And that's a really cool thing to see because I'm a data guy. I like looking at numbers. And when you see that, you kind of can actually see like what we're doing is working. And you just got to keep on doing what you're doing.
I think we were going to ask you about some of your teammates here. Your weight class, 125. You're the returning champion, obviously. Won't be competing this year. A lot of new faces in this weight class, too. Teammate Jarrett Trombley. He might have struggled at the beginning, but he's really come on here at the end of the season. Had a great win over no relation to you, but the other Camacho in the ACC.
Yeah.
And that's who he's actually going to face in the first round. How have you seen Jarrett improved as the season's gone on?
He's improved tremendously, and I think he's always had the physical attributes. He's always been strong. He's always been fast. He knows how to wrestle. He knows his positions. He's a great wrestler. And I think in the beginning of the year, I think it was probably the first time being down to 125 every week for a while, so that probably was tough. And it's different when you're wrestling a different weight class and you're not used to it. But I think from at least what I've seen, his improvements have been dramatic mentally. He's confident, and when he starts feeling it and kind of getting in that groove, he's dangerous. And I mean, I wrestle him all the time. I know how good he is. He's a little firecracker. He's strong, he's fast, and he's explosive. And I think he just needs to go out there and be himself. I mean, when he's himself, he's very, very, very hard to beat. And I'm looking forward to watching him because the past few matches that he's been watching, he's been lighting it up, and he looks phenomenal. He's doing all the right things. He's got his weight in check. He's ready to go. And I'd like to see him keep it rolling at 125 for us.
Yeah, I was going to say 125, the last 7 years, NC State's had a finalist, four finalists, 3 champions. So the Pack has got a lot of points at 125, largely thanks to yourself, Sean Fowles. But that's going to be very important. But I want to ask you, he has a first round bye. You as a wrestler in a 6-team tournament, there's 2 get the first round bye, 4 people. Did you like having that first round bye, or would you have rather call it the breakfast club because you get to go to breakfast in that round? But or do you kind of want a first round match? What kind of do you like with a small tournament like this?
I think when I was younger, I probably would have wanted a first round match just to kind of, I guess, get my bearings right and really kind of get that quote unquote first match out of the way, the one where I just don't wrestle very well. As I've kind of gotten older and really understood my warm up and Kind of just got the mentality side right. I would rather a bye. I mean, kind of on a 1-day tournament like the ACCs, it kind of means a nice breakfast. And you get, I don't know, I want to say 4 hours or 5 hours before your match. So that's a good bit of pancakes, some eggs, maybe some bacon. So you get to feel real good. I mean, 4 hours, you get to put on some weight. I personally would much rather that because it's more about how you feel than opposed to how you're. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, how do you feel? You feel good. So the older I've gotten, the more I kind of want that bye. It's definitely advantageous, especially because you never know what's going to happen in a match. I mean, you could tweak your ankle, you could tweak your arm, you could tweak your neck. So the fresher you are going out there, the better. So I'm more leaning on a first round bye. And I know guys that get to kind of take a nap and all that stuff. I've never been able to take a nap ever in my life. So that's out of the question.
And I was going to say, I don't know if you ever noticed, but I call it the Breakfast Club because you guys weigh in, get to go to breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
There's some evil glances from the guys that have to stay back and warm up for the next match. So there's always a little bit of jealousy, but 4-pack guys got that first round bout. One guy, 133, Kai Arini. He has longtime rival of yours, Sam Latona, in the first round. If Kai gets past that first round in the semifinals.
Yes.
You faced Latona so many times. What does kind of Kai have to do to beat a wrestler like Latona?
I think Kai's just got to use his speed, use his athleticism. That's going to be something that is going to be very hard for a guy that like Sam Latona to handle. Even at 33, he's big and cutting a lot of weight. So, I mean, he's going to be pretty big that day, but I think Kai's also cutting a little bit of weight. He's also big, he's strong, he's fast. He needs to use his athleticism, he needs to use his quickness, and he just has to trust himself. Sam Latona is good. He's beaten me more times than not, but I think the way that Kai wrestles is very, very problematic for him just because a guy like that's really long, they kind of rely on that length. And when you take a quick, explosive guy like Kai, it kind of negates that length. And when you're able to create angles and move, and once you start feeling your groove, it's very, very hard to stop a guy that's that fast because it's like you don't know when he's going, so you're always on edge. And more often than not, it's the stress of kind of being on edge that'll tire you out with a guy that's really fast and explosive. So I think he just needs to go out there, take his attacks when he sees them, take the opportunities that presented, keep his head up on his shots, ride him out on top. That's somewhere that Kai is much better than myself and much better than Latona. He can get that riding time point, and that takes a lot out of Latona, a guy that's cutting a lot of weight to get off bottom. So as long as he just kind of is himself, that's all he has to do. And I think he should be able to beat him and then hopefully get a nice little fun rematch in the finals against Philippi. But I'm excited. I think that I've been given the Latona feel after all these times wrestling him. I kind of, at this point, I don't know there's a lot that I know about Latona. He's still very good, very competitive, but I like Kai's chances in this one. I think he's been looking really good.
I'd say 141 is another great weight class.
Yeah.
Top 4 guys are all in the top 12 in the nation. That's unreal. Mm-hmm. Former high school teammate of yours from Danbury, Ryan Jack. A lot of people say the most improved on the team. How have you seen him both on and off the mat improve this year?
I think he's just, first of all, he's matured. I mean, he's definitely physically matured, but mentally matured as well. I mean, he's a captain of the team for a reason. And I've seen some maturity out of him. And then as far as wrestling goes, I mean, he's just so well aware of his body and so well aware of where he is on the mat. He's got great instincts. He's also very slick. He's smart. He's very, very smart when he wrestles. And I don't think he gets enough credit for how smart he is when he wrestles. I think a lot of people think it's just his athleticism, but it's not. He's very smart and kind of has a way of simplifying positions that is very advantageous to a high-level wrestler. So I think as long as he just trusts himself, I mean, it's big trust for me. It's all trusting your abilities and your capabilities. But as long as he gets to his attacks and finishes cleanly, he's going to beat Cole Matthews. I mean, he can get to his legs. The hard part's going to be finishing. So that's going to be the most important part of that match. Getting off bottom inside a minute and finishing his attacks. I think it's going to be critical to take those attacks when they present themselves and not try to force them. He's very good at that. He could see an opportunity from a mile away. So just take his attacks, finish cleanly, and that's a match I'm excited for. I think everybody in that tournament is going to be looking forward to that one.
I think just in the semifinal too, McNeil from UNC, he's
Yeah.
a top 10 kid too.
Yes.
Canadian national team, and that was a great battle over in UNC. So Ryan Jack's going to have to wrestle a great tournament if he can go through with those two guys at the top there.
Yeah, definitely. He's been looking real good in the room. I mean, as long as he wrestles the way he wrestled Lachlan McNeil at UNC, gets to his attacks and kind of just stays on that offense and stays on taking those opportunities, shoot, score. They shoot, he scores. He'll be great. He'll do just fine. And like I said, finishing those attacks is going to be crucial. Avoid the scrambles, and he'll be just fine.
As somebody who knows the Jack brothers, Kevin says he can still take Ryan. Is that still true?
I can confirm that Kevin can take Ryan so long as it's under 3 minutes.
And he's got a little bit of weight advantage too. Now, let's be honest here. He's got that.
He does have a little bit of weight. He does have that dead weight. He's actually been on the stepper a little bit the past few weeks. He's getting back into shape.
All right. Pat Mass made him feel guilty there.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was. Now he's on the stepper and getting back into shape. I always tease him and say he's going to come back and wrestle in the open. That's not happening.
Big difference in weight class there too.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin was a 41 pounder, so it's interesting. You got the small 41 and the big 41.
149, great class, 2 true freshmen. Jackson Arrington for NC State, his first time out. You won the title as a redshirt freshman. Jackson's competing for the first time, as is Maddie Singleton at 165. Can you talk about a freshman going into this kind of tournament?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, especially when you've lost to somebody going into that tournament. It's all about frame of mind. I mean, as long as you kind of just look at that match with Jackson and Henson, and all Jackson has to do, I mean, he's been doing it the past 4 weeks ever since that match, is tighten up his offense, tighten up his defense, and trust his own attacks. He's been looking phenomenal in the room. He looked phenomenal the past few matches. And I think really it's just going to be him trust himself. Go out there and just go. I mean, I remember when I was there wrestling Mueller, I lost to him, 3 weeks before that. So whatever happened in the past doesn't matter. It's all new. It's a brand new season. There's 2 seasons, and the second one starts in March. So as long as he just keeps on trucking along and trusts himself and just fires it away, leave everything on the mat, and he'll be good to go. I think it's going to be an exciting match. His first match, just do what he does. And second match, if he gets to Henson, or when he gets to Henson, in my eyes, I think he just needs to go. I think he needs to trust all in his abilities, get to his underhooks, get to his elbow passes, feel the positions and go. Take the opportunities when they present themselves. No hesitations. Leave it all on the mat, and at the end of the day, he'll be in the right spot.
Does the team look forward to a matchup like Ed Scott, Bryce Andonian, like all the national writers do?
Yes. I think everybody kind of looks at that and they're like, it wasn't probably the smartest match that I wrestled against Andonian. And I think Ed's the kind of guy that eats at him. I mean, he's a competitive guy. In the room, he is competitive, and he wants to take your head off. So I think that match with Andonian definitely sits in his mind. It definitely doesn't sit too well with him, and that's going to drive him. And that has forced him to make some adjustments, tighten up some things, tighten up the screws. And when he goes out there against Andonian the second time, I mean, that's going to be a very, very fun match, and I'm looking forward to seeing him right the ship. I would love Ed to kind of get that one back and then get his rematch with O'Connor.
Yeah, O'Connor's been wrestling fantastic too, and Ed really took it down as one takedown bout. Obviously, Ed looks forward to 157 as a weight class in that one. But here's a guy not many people talk about, 174, Alex Faison, North Carolina native. He's been around in the program for a while, and he's just waited his turn. He's got his win this year, got in the lineup, some very clutch wins. He does everything right. I told him he might be the meanest wrestler on the mat, but off the mat, he's one of the nicest guys that you could ever talk to.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about Alex Faison a little bit for fans that might not know him as well?
Yeah, I mean, so Alex we came in the same year. We're both the same year. He does have another year of eligibility if he wants to take it, but I mean, he was a guy that came in green. I mean, he came in and he wasn't as highly talented as probably most people in our class. I mean, you look at the guys from our class and you got guys like Trent, you got guys like that aren't around anymore that graduated, Matt Fields, myself that's still going, but not quite as talented as him. And you want the kind of the definition of earned it. He's earned it. There was nothing given. Everything was earned with him. And I love watching him wrestle because he wrestles with that same passion that it took to get to where he is right now. And I don't know, for me, when he beat Clay Lout, that was awesome. I mean, I was in the stands freaking out for him. I really am looking forward to seeing what he does at ACCs and then the rest of the season because, I mean, he's a guy that's not going to stop. You're going to have to drag him off the mat before he doesn't get what he wants. And like you said, he's a mean wrestler, but off the mat, he's awesome. I can crack jokes with him all day. But yeah, he's a guy that I love watching compete because that fire and that passion, that's what got him there. I mean, he was a guy that just worked and just worked and just worked. He kept his head down and he worked. He got his butt kicked and he just worked. It didn't really matter what was happening. All that mattered was I'm going to get better than I was the day before, and we're going to see how far I can take this. And he's taken it pretty far, and I'm super excited to watch him compete. I mean, especially him being in my class, and I know him really well. He's a guy that I'm really looking forward to, and I want him to shake things up big time.
Absolutely.
I got a question for you, Brian, because I didn't realistically think Faison could beat Micah Lewis, but when does he face? Would he face him in the semis or in the finals?
It would be the finals. He's got the Pitt kid in the semifinals. Pitt kid has a bye too. And that was a one takedown bout, overtime, very tight.
Yes.
Faison got that great takedown. So that's going to be a great battle in the semifinals.
Yeah, that semifinals is going to be phenomenal. I mean, I'm looking forward to that one too, because that was a nail biter.
Yeah.
As a spectator, those are the ones that you really want to see, those nail biters that go to the last second. As an athlete and as a teammate of Faison, I want him putting up 10 points. I mean, I want him kind of just emptying everything. I mean, we have a saying sometimes we use, empty the clip, just let it all go, let it fly. And I'm looking forward to his semis. And then against Makai, I mean, the beauty of wrestling and the beauty of sports is anything can happen. I mean, there's literally, I don't think anybody thought who was it? I didn't think anybody thought Clay Lout was going to catch Hayden. Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy situation, and Hayden wrote the ship 100%, but that's the beauty of wrestling, and anything can happen on any given Sunday. I mean, that was kind of, you just got to just trust yourself then.
I was going to say, you can even take your situation. You had Mueller.
Yeah.
You caught him in that 6-point move in the first period and just controlled the bout after that.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's a matter of milliseconds. I mean, how well do you know each position, and are you willing to take a little risk? High risk, high reward. And sometimes you get burned, sometimes you get paid for it. So I think Faison just needs to wrestle with that fire, wrestle with that passion, and just know anything can happen on any given Sunday, literally.
What about a guy like Trent? Everybody knows he's the team leader. There's a lot of team leaders. Some of you guys aren't as loud. Trent's very loud. Yeah. How do you guys feed off of Trent's energy?
It's just momentum. I mean, it's you can't help but love it. I mean, he's another guy that also, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he wrestles with the same passion that got him to where he is today. I mean, one of the best in the country, and quite frankly, one of the best in the world. He's a guy that I look up to every day, watching him train, watching him just kind of live the lifestyle and have the habits of a champion, carry himself in a humble way as well. But we just feed off the energy. I mean, every time he goes out there on that mat, he puts on a show, and he puts up points. I think a guy like that, like Trent, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. You know what you want to do. And every time you step out on that mat, let it all out, come off the mat, get ready for the next one. I think sometimes now it's business as usual, but just always make sure you're having fun with it. I'm sure he's going to have a great time wrestling in Reynolds for ACCs, and he'll just do what he does best, and he'll put on a show for everybody and all the fans. I know what he wants. He's got his eyes set in March, but he also does a great job of staying in the moment. I think just our team, we feed off him. I mean, that's our fearless leader going out into battle. And when one of us goes to war, we all go to war. So it's going to be pretty cool to watch him just do his thing. And he'll also have a tough match. I mean, he's going to wrestle Bolin probably. And that match in Virginia Tech was awesome. I mean, you want to talk about heart and grit, that's never say die. I mean, you got to get a takedown with 15 seconds left and you're sweaty, you're tired, you're hurting. And it's one of those things where your lungs on fire, you can't feel your body. You want to say, your body wants you to stop, but your mind just says, no, I need that last takedown. And I think just the way he competes, he's going to be able to get it done again.
Yeah, I was going to say 184. 5 of the 6 guys are ranked in the top 17 nationally.
Yes.
So the semifinals are going to be great. Hopefully Trent's in the final. That's going to be great. Let me move up to 197. I think Isaac Trumbull's a lot like you, kind of a quiet guy. He's always reading a book and all that. But
yeah,
this could be the Isaac Trumbull revenge tour. Hopefully he gets past that first round. Andy Smith, who he lost to Virginia Tech, and arch rival Bonacorsi could be in the final. I kind of talk about offense. Everybody's like, why doesn't Trumbull score a little bit more? It's not like he's not trying to score.
Yeah.
As a wrestler, can it get frustrating sometimes when the other person's just not shooting or not moving or letting you get to your offense?
Yeah, I mean, Trumbull's got some of the best defense in the country, and even watching him wrestle in the room, sometimes I see heavyweights get in on his leg, and I'm like, how is he getting out of this? Like, and he's scoring. He's not just getting out of it. And I think that from a spectator's perspective, yeah, it's fun to watch guys do all these fancy moves and score a bunch of points. But at the end of the day, the name of the game is winning. And winning by 1 point, quite frankly, is the same as winning by 15. And sometimes with these high-level matches, especially at the heavyweights, they're much more sweaty. They're a lot stronger. And it's a little bit of a slower pace because of those things. I mean, you can't just horse someone around. It's not. And you're not flying all over the place like a 125-pounder. But I think he just really needs to stick to what he's good at. I mean, just kind of stalk forward, make guys uncomfortable. He's super strong. Yeah. Pull on guys' heads, get them tired. When you're on top, make them pay. Put a leg in, ride them out, make them really, really regret wrestling you. And I'm looking forward to him getting that one back. I mean, he's got Andy Smith from Virginia Tech. That was a nail biter. I mean, I thought Trumbull was going to win that match when he had that leg up in the air. It was a kind of a crazy flurry that didn't go his way, but I know that fired him up. And he's a very, very self-driven, motivated guy. He's a guy that's up early. He goes to sleep early. He does the right things. He lives the lifestyle of almost a wrestling monk. And I love watching him compete because it just shows that those habits are paying off for him. And I just think he just needs to go out there and just do what he does best. Make guys really regret wrestling him. Make them really tired. Make them make their mistakes. Isaac's not going to make mistakes, nor should he. And he doesn't need to put himself out there because there's no need to. He's so good in his positions, but if he needs to score, he also can. So I think he just really needs to stick to his game plan, and he'll be all good. And I'm looking forward to watching him wrestle Bonacorsi again, because that was, I mean, as close as you get. I mean, you look at the end of, I think it was overtime or regulation, where I thought Isaac had 2, but they didn't give him 2 because Bonacorsi still had his leg locked, his hands locked around his leg. And I think that's going to be another kind of match of fireworks, because Bonacorsi is offensive, but Trumbull's defense is second to none. And I think Trumbull's gonna right the ship. Like, I got a feeling about it.
We had that illegal, like full Nelson throw kind of.
Yeah. That was a crazy situation. That was also something that kind of burned him a little bit. But
that showed his strength too. I mean, he didn't
he is strong.
Do what he did, but he picked him up and was just
he literally just picked him up and tried to put him down. I mean, it's a different position, but it's similar to Owen picking up heavyweights and just pulling them on their back. So that'll be a good one.
I was gonna say, speaking of your heavyweight, I didn't wrestle, but I always find it unique. The 125-pounders and the heavyweights always seem to get along so great.
Yeah.
Owen has a great personality.
Yes.
Had a great season. I mean, he's really coming to his own. He's right outside that top 10, leading the ACC. He'll be the 2 seed. Kind of, what have you seen from Owen and his development this year into the starting heavyweight?
I think his confidence is probably the number one thing that's improved. Is he's confident in his abilities. He's confident in taking his attacks. I mean, I think there's a big difference between a high school heavyweight and a high school 220 and a college heavyweight. I mean, you're talking about guys that are big enough and strong enough to play in the NFL. I mean, some of these guys are playing football as well. And I think it's a little bit intimidating sometimes, at least kind of how I would see it, that these guys are so big, so strong, you don't want to get caught underneath if you're so athletic like Owen. But that's also his biggest strength. And you see it, and he's really been able to put together his style, and he's very confident in it. And the confidence of, I think, of the match against Pitt when he was in the middle with 30 seconds left in overtime, and he's pumping the crowd up, like that's something I've never seen before in a wrestling match, and I loved every second of it. I mean, I was kind of like, you better get the takedown now, but that was really cool. That was one awesome moment, and he just needs to be confident in his abilities, be athletic, and he's also super strong. I mean, the numbers he puts up in the weight room are crazy. Like, that's a guy that he loves to lift, he loves to wrestle, and loves to compete and pump the crowd up too. He's a fan favorite now.
Yep.
Who's the number 1 seed in that weight class?
The kid from Duke.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was interesting. They both went 4-0, but unfortunately, Owen only faced 2 of the guys in his bracket because he wrestled a couple of backups.
Yes.
He beat the Pitt kid. So it's just an interesting how seeds work sometimes, but new rules are going to be. And Jake, I want to ask you, maybe we'll get you out of here on this one.
Well, wait a minute. One thing we didn't ask him about 65.
Maddie.
Oh yeah, Maddie Singleton
comes up from Georgia. 65 was an up and down battle all year. NC State really didn't know what they were going to do, but Maddie seemed to win that job. That's a wide open weight. I think 165 and 125 are the 2 weights that could decide this tournament with how wide open they are. But talk about Maddie as a wrestler. Many fans haven't got to see him too much this year.
In one word, I'd probably have to say unorthodox. He's got an unorthodox style. He likes to go upper body. He likes to he's very, very comfortable with guys and on his leg. And it's very strange to watch sometimes, because you kind of think that if somebody has his leg up, he's dead to rights. Like that's 2, it's takedown. And then somehow, some way, he finds his way to square his hips and scores. I mean, you saw it in the Virginia Tech match against Brady, where I'm sitting there in the corner, like his legs up in the air. I'm thinking worst case scenario, like we got to get into a scramble. Like you got to cause something. Next thing I know, he finds a way to get his hips down to a basic sprawl and scores takedown for 2 and wins the match. He's got a very, very unique style, and I think he just needs to use that to his advantage. He's been making some adjustments in the room, just very, very minor, basic adjustments to put himself in a position to kind of come out on top. And he's been doing the right things. 165 has been a different weight for him. He started out at 174, but he's got that under control now. And he really just kind of needs to clean up the mistakes from that Pitt match. And I think that Pitt match, I mean, the loss, it always kind of highlights the things that you don't do as well as you need to. And that's always, at least in my eyes now, it's always a good thing. Like you want to look at those things, and whether it's in the practice room or in a match, and you want to see that, you're like, that's how I'm going to get better. Like that's how it doesn't really matter about beating the kid you lost to, but about beating yourself from that match and constantly getting that improvement going. And that match with the Pitt kid, all those crazy scrambles and weird positions, that kind of just, it's really all it did was kind of give Maddie some feedback. I mean, and Maddie's a very smart wrestler. He knows where he's good. He knows where he needs to be. I mean, there's a reason why he's got that spot right now, and there's a reason why he's having success. And he just needs to continue to use his skill set and advance. And at the end of the day, just kind of with a guy like the kid from Pitt, stay basic, stay home, finish cleanly, try to control the hips as much as possible to negate the rolls. Kind of just got to be very, very fundamental. And as long as he does that and sticks to where he's good, he's going to do very, very well. And I think he put himself in a position where he can win that weight class.
Yeah, I was going to say, true freshman, he started at 174, was asked to go down to 165, and then asked again to burn his red shirt. What kind of respect did he earn in the room from you guys?
A ton. I mean, just the fact of there was no real questioning. It was, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do it. I will do it. And I'm sure there was more kind of to the conversations of, I'm sure there was a little bit where maybe he wanted to do something. I'm not sure. I don't know what happened in those conversations, but he's a guy that kind of was just like, you need me to do it, I'll do it. And whatever the coaches told him to do as far as getting his weight down, he did it. And whatever they needed, he did it. And he needs to do extra stance of motion after practice, he does it. I mean, he doesn't complain. And a lot of the stuff that he's had to do is not easy. It's not easy starting at one weight and going down to the other in the middle of the season. And it's also not easy being young and starting out as kind of a red shirt with the new rules to being asked to or choosing to burn your red shirt, which I don't think he's burning it. I think he's just using the opportunity to compete and go chase that All-American status. I mean, true freshmen do it all the time, and no seeds do it all the time. So kind of a common theme is, why not you? I mean, he wants it, so go get it. No one's going to tell you can't. Not in our room. Everybody knows you can. Doesn't matter who you are. So as long as he kind of just does himself and is that nonchalant kid from Georgia, he'll be just fine.
ACC Championship Sunday. Unfortunately, you won't be competing, but you'll definitely be there.
Yes.
How are you going to be able to relax, watch, enjoy? What's your mindset for yourself? Different role this year for yourself? It's
weird. It's sometimes I don't have much control over what happens out there. So sometimes you get a little bit more nervous and you kind of like, you yell when you think you're calm and all of a sudden something happens and you find yourself yelling and you're like, why am I yelling like this? It's a weird kind of situation, but it's kind of cool that I'm able to have a different impact on the team. I've actually got my parents coming down to watch, so I'll be watching with them. But I mean, I'm also, if guys need warm-ups, I mean, I'm the guy that if you need it, I'll do whatever I can do from 25 to whatever weight needs me to help them get ready. Or if guys need like their leg stretch, or guys need their shoulder stretch, guys need anything, I'm there for them. I mean, guy needs to make weight, I'll be there for you. So it's kind of just being there in whatever way I can be, making sure these guys are relaxed, they're confident, just kind of making sure they're ready to go. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just another match. At this point in our careers, these guys have wrestled so many matches before, and it doesn't change. The only thing you do is you go out there in a different singlet and you just wrestle your heart out. That's it. I mean, it's a very simple recipe, and the work's been put in, everything's been done. Now it's just kind of making sure that these guys don't stress out about it. They don't get too worried about the what ifs and all the stuff that doesn't matter. Just keep them warmed up, keep them hydrated, keep them happy, keep them excited, and the rest will fall into place.
Jacob, I was going to say, go ahead, Stu.
I got two questions for you. Who is the guy that we haven't seen yet that's in the room, it's been a redshirt freshman, a true freshman, that we should look out for the future, that we don't know much about it?
I think Dylan Fishback is one that you guys should keep your eyes on. He's an Ohio boy. I actually have kind of known Fishback for quite some time now, he was very good friends with Derek Fields and Matt Fields, who was my old my old roommate, and before he graduated and moved on. But he has been around the program for quite some time now, and he's in the room. He's a hammer. He's a stud. He's real good. So I think he's a redshirt freshman to watch out for. Chase Horn's another one. We've got some studs that are coming up, and we've got a really good class coming in, and the future looks good.
Another thing, when I saw the Virginia Tech match with Ed Scott against Sidonian, I thought he tried to throw with a thrower. Then when he saw him against Carolina, I thought it was one of the smartest matches. He was very under control, and he had a chance to be in it right at the end.
Yeah, he made
how
some
do you
really
see
good
that,
adjustments.
the difference, how he wrestled those two matches?
I think he just had a little bit more control of himself. I think he had a little bit of control of his emotions. Sometimes guys that are so competitive and so amped up, sometimes you tend to lose control of yourself and your emotions, and you just want to let everything fly. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, if you play with fire, you might get burned. I think Ed got a little burned at Virginia Tech, but after that next day, like, it was literally not even 24 hours later, it was one night's sleep. It was a lift, and he was immediately asking questions on how to improve. And you saw it in the UNC match. He was much more controlled. He was much more relaxed. And, I mean, he wrestled that match phenomenally. I mean, it was very minor mistakes, but I think that kind of control and that kind of relaxation when you're out there competing and you're just you're going, you're not super amped up and you're not over the top aroused, that's where you wrestle. And I think he's kind of found that, and he's made the adjustments. Like I said, mistakes are always good. It just highlights what you need to work on, and he's done a great job working on all of them. So he's going to go out there, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Excellent.
Stu, I think this was another great insight.
Oh, yeah.
Camacho, you really added a lot because you're in the room with these guys. You have firsthand knowledge of how everybody's doing, and there's just so much excitement for the postseason.
Oh, yeah, always.
Can't wait to get to Reynolds. Can't wait to watch you guys in Tulsa. And you yourself, we can't wait to see you back on the mat too. So we're glad the recovery is going good. Can't wait to get you back there. But we've got the postseason first we're going to focus on here. So
yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to these guys going out there and proving themselves right and maybe proving a lot of others wrong. I think a lot of people wrote NC State off as a rebuild year, and we kind of shut them up a little bit. But that's the first half of the season. Second half of the season starts now, and I'm looking forward to watching these guys compete. And 25 through heavyweight, I want to see everybody go out there and win an ACC title. I want to see them keep it rolling and make a run for an All-American national title in a couple weeks. And myself, I'm kind of itching to put on that black and red again. So
great job today, Jakob.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Wolfpack fans, can't wait to watch some NC State postseason action. So, Stu, appreciate you having us on again.
And be sure to go to the wolfpacker.com and read Brian's preview of the ACC tournaments. Very, very informative. And you can check down there, subscribe to the site, and we'll look forward to talking to you with a pre-NCAA tournament podcast in 2 weeks.